Well, welcome everybody. Good morning. My name is Larry Williams. I'm the president and CEO of TAG. Glad to see a lot of familiar faces on here and greatly appreciate all of you joining us this morning for the Networking Jam and featuring some executive insights from one of our most active TAG Board of Directors members, Kyle Tothill. Welcome, Kyle.
Glad to be here.
We're excited to have Kyle here today to talk about workforce trends and managing network relationships. Obviously a critical topic for many of us, whether you're an employee or a job seeker or an employer. All of these workforce trends and how you manage your network is at top of mind. I've had the privilege of working with Kyle over the last few years, and I can tell you that he's absolutely passionate about the people in his network. He's absolutely passionate about getting people connected, and he's passionate about his job. And he is the co-founder and partner of eHire, and he serves as the managing director of that organization as well. eHire is one of the premier organizations that helps connect talent with the future jobs, especially in the tech industry that they have. And Kyle will talk a little bit more about what they do. But he's both an entrepreneur, having stood up eHire, and he's a growth enablement professional focused on helping organizations acquire, select talent, build, manage successful recruiting programs, and solve tough technical and business challenges. During his career, he has successfully started 4 professional services companies and 1 software firm, all requiring significant capital, creative, organizational, and startup development skills. Prior to his entrepreneurial career, he ran a regional sales organization for a Fortune 500 services firm in Atlanta. Kyle holds a degree in marketing from Auburn University. Go ahead and start writing your comments now. That's fine. Just go ahead and put. And one thing I'll also add is that he's also very passionate about building innovation ecosystems within organizations, something that requires a lot of intentionality, a lot of thought, and a lot of follow through. So thank you, Kyle, for talking with us this morning. Kyle, you are a great resource for everyone to know about what's going on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle for the executive insights this morning.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everybody showing up. Thank you for your leadership, Larry. TAG has been instrumental in the last 60 days being a presence and connecting our community. And I got to commend all you guys in TAG for doing the right thing, stepping up, pivoting, and transitioning to the virtual side. And it's been really, really great. So I'm going to present my screen and we'll go through a presentation really quickly. Let's see, where to go? There it is, right here. Presentation mode. All right, can everybody see that? All right, perfect. So we went over that. eHire has 2 primary divisions. eHire is a staffing and recruiting brand. We build high-performance technology and sales teams. Most of our clients are pretty stressed and overwhelmed and under pressure. We help them get the best people quickly. That's really what we do in a nutshell. And we have a division called Collective Insights, which is a management consulting division run by my other partner, Seth Ryan. We help solve complex business challenges and deliver great projects, namely for large enterprise organizations. Been a member of TAG for as long as I can remember professionally, and I'm super passionate about it. I love the Atlanta community, the Georgia ecosystem. It's the best place to do business, I think, in the world. It's certainly ranked the top state to do business within the United States, which kind of sets that stage. And I'm proud to be part of this and proud to be here with you guys this morning. So my objective this morning is to educate you guys a little bit about today's job market trends, data, and hiring behaviors, which has changed a lot. I want to inform you guys about and help you gain an understanding of what the data suggests. I'm going to move what the data suggests. And then I'm going to empower you guys about how you can better understand, organize, leverage, and grow your network. And hopefully that's the sum objective of what we're trying to accomplish today. And if I get that across, I've done my duty for the morning. So current hiring trends, the bad news. Well, as you guys know, COVID-19 has really derailed the GOAT economy. I call it the GOAT economy. I believe that, prior to Obviously the end of March, we had very, very, very low unemployment, 3.5%. And now just 9 or 10 weeks later, we're in the 15 to 25% under unemployment. Number of Americans receiving jobless benefits, also known as continuing claims, is topped 25 million this month. The record, historical record prior to this year was 6.5 million set in 2009, shortly after the recession. Labor Department has reported that roughly 38 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits over the past 9 weeks. So that is basically the equivalent of our economy being in a tragic, horrible car accident in the end of March. Okay, and it's not pretty out there. However, there is some good news. Hiring trends have started a little bit. An initial claims trend is headed in the right direction. You can see from the graph on the left that we peaked out on initial jobless claims, kind of towards the end of March and into April, and that trend has been continuously and precipitously declining, which is a big deal, right? And I'm really excited about that. 2.4 million in mid-May, still a huge body number, but definitely the trend is looking good. A survey of economists released this morning actually says that we're most likely at the bottom, reported by Wall Street Journal. Federal government has taken extraordinary action to provide liquidity for the country and for small business in particular. U.S., like I said, U.S. has liquidity for now. The stock market is actually in a pretty elevated state right now from a valuation perspective. So we haven't lost the capital side or equity side of the market, which is really, really important for organizations to maintain their valuations. And a report that was out actually early this morning said that economists feel like 10 million of the 30 million will be reabsorbed in the next 90 days as reopening continues. So that is really, really, really good news relative to kind of where we were just even 3 to 4 days ago. So I'm excited about that. That trend is good. My observed insights, what I've observed, right? Companies have completely flipped hiring models. What does that mean? Well, there's kind of two general models that I can see. One of them is a filter in model, which is we're recruiting everybody. We really want to not exclude any candidates. The market's really tight, and we want to talk to as many people as we can. And that was kind of what we had for the last handful of years in the goat economy. To a filter out model, right? And that's a COVID-19 economy, which is we're overwhelmed with candidates and where we feel like we have lots and lots and lots of choices. And as a result, we're going to be very, very picky about who we talk to and who we engage with, specifically as it relates to people applying to our jobs. Companies have sought to protect revenue generating assets, people, technologies and systems, and projects. Companies have canceled or postponed planned capital improvement projects and cut non-revenue personnel. I mean, these are blinding glimpses of the obvious, but this is what we've really learned in the last 6 weeks. Most companies are not looking further than 6 months as demand is still foggy and uncertain. So what does that mean? People haven't started strategically planning right now. They're still kind of in the crisis mode and reeling a little bit. And they're really thinking about kind of what's going to happen over the next 6 months. Generally speaking, most of my clients are trying to sort out return to work strategies, liability issues related to safely bringing people back to work versus strategic planning and putting together plans. So we're still in this kind of reconstitution phase, and that's what I've observed. Okay, inform you. And this is something that I really want everybody to kind of pay attention to because it sets up the next part. 85% of jobs are not posted online. That is something that happens in good times and in bad times, but especially in bad times. People view job openings as precious little birds, right? Specifically now, they want to help their friends, their colleagues, their internal network as much as they can, and they don't want to post these job openings, to the world in general. But as a general, this is historic. This is something that's observed over a long period of time. 85% of jobs are not posted. Job postings, why? Job postings are a mess. They're expensive, difficult to manage. when you get into a budgetary cycle where you're expecting your spend, it takes time and money and energy to sit there and look through 300 or 400 applicants, and to do that professionally costs money. So top recruiters are $50, $60, $70 an hour at least, right? Someone needs to go on mute. I don't know who that is, but someone needs to go on mute. Expensive and difficult to manage, right? And it's just expensive to deal with. The black hole is a real thing. The black hole is a term that's used for people that apply to jobs online and never hear anything at all back. It's real, right? It's real for the employer. It's real for the employees. And the expectations when polled is that if I apply to a job online, I basically don't expect to hear anything back, and that's terrible, right? That's terrible. Again, for all the wrong reasons, it's just a mess, right? So that's why people don't generally post all of the open jobs they have. And less than 2% of all candidates that apply to jobs get a real call or a non-automated response. So for those of us that are in sales leadership or have been in sales for a long time, those are cold calling statistics. Okay, it's not a high probability type of activity. 85% of all jobs are filled via networking. Big axiomatic truth right here. Big block of limestone as it relates to how things actually happen. 70% generally are done in network, meaning it happens with people that or 1 degree of separation that reach out to you or you reach out to them. 15% of the time generally through an agency like my own. Okay, and then another 15%, job postings or kind of random circumstances or walk-ins, you name it. But if you take a look at that, 85% are done generally through networking, and most agencies are specifically executive search or direct hire placement. You're usually networked into a good recruiter. Nearly all peer-to-peer referrals receive an introductory or informational interview or conversation. This is something that as an agency professional always drives me crazy. The best submittal to interview ratio that we've ever had on mass is about 70%. So in other words, about 70% of the candidates that me as a professional or our company sends to our clients when they're paying us to do it get an interview. Nearly all of the candidates that are referred to hiring managers through their network or through internal referral get a call. That is a vastly different model. And what that infers ultimately is that if you get referred into a client by someone that they know or a hiring manager, the odds of you getting at least a phone call out of it are very, very high versus you going through, kind of a job posting type of platform. High level chart here. This is a total talent market. This is a graph from LinkedIn study. You can see that 15 to 20% of all candidates are active. I think that number has historically been a lot smaller. Generally in the goat economy now, obviously it's up towards 25, 30%. And those people can get jobs necessarily through job postings, but you can see the data still suggests that even networking in those types of environments yields the majority of the results. And if you take a look at the rest of the graph, those are employed, they call them tiptoers, I call them passively active, or the 65 or 75% of the market that's totally passive, exclusively gets jobs done by, or gets new jobs by networking. So just look at that stat for just a half a second. What that tells you is that networking is a primary vehicle and the primary vehicle for getting a new job. So let's talk a little bit about networking. And what I want to talk today a little bit about is kind of unlocking your network. And that really starts off with kind of understanding who's your actual network. Most people say, well, my network's in LinkedIn. I don't believe that's true. I think that's just a data repository. Your network is who you actually know and are affiliated with and associated with, right? Versus who you're connected to in LinkedIn. And I think if I was, you guys are honest with me and I polled the audience right now, you would say the vast majority of your connections on LinkedIn are people that you actually don't know very well, even some of your first connections. it's a powerful tool, but it's important to understand that your network is different than what's on LinkedIn. A lot of people make that mistake. The second thing that is important, and this is kind of a how-to, is to build a database of your own. And I call it the network, relationship network spreadsheet. People that work for me understand this all too well. This is part of our business development process when you enter into our company, and we manage this individually at a very micro level. But the exercise here is to put your top 100 relationships in a spreadsheet. Now, some of us in sales or that are high-level networkers have lots and lots more of top relationships than 100. But what I can tell you is that even that number right there is a difficult number to get to when you sit down and start thinking about it. The key here is to understand relationship, not necessarily business relationship, but relationship in general. Who goes in that? One of the best repositories is your phone. I guarantee you, for anybody that's been around for 15 or 20 years in the professional market, if you look through your telephone and you look through your contacts, that is an unbelievable repository of people that you actually have direct phone numbers to. And you'll be surprised when you go through that how many people are actually in your phone. Think about your friends, your neighborhood friends, people that you just know, people that you grew up with, your family, school and college friends, colleagues, mentors, former bosses. I think I put friends in there again. Community relationships, religious affiliations, fraternities or sororities. So what I want you to think about is really expanding your relationship construct to include everybody that matters to you. You can also, this is a really cool tool, you can also download your entire network on LinkedIn, and it comes in a spreadsheet format, which makes life pretty easy by degree, and you can sort that by location. And so that's on the privacy settings and member data in LinkedIn, and it's a really powerful tool. I just actually did it the other day. I have 3,000 contacts, so it's taken me a little while to dig through that, but in terms of deepening my relationship spreadsheet and adding that, there are always people that you don't think or to remember that are important to you that you need to include in that relationship spreadsheet. You got to key, when you get them in the spreadsheet, the next exercise is to rank them or value them in two key categories. One of them is willingness to help, and you rank them a 1 through 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the best. And the next is the ability to help. 1 through 5. And those are really interesting constructs. So I'll give you the example that I give everybody. My father was a senior executive officer of Sprint Corporation, helped build it from the mid-'80s through the early 2000s, had a great career, had a fantastic commercial network, a national network. And he is a 5 on the willingness to help me and a 5 on the ability to help me. He can connect me to a lot of people. My mother, on the other hand, who's a really awesome salesperson in her own right, hasn't had a commercial job in probably 40 years. And she's a 5 on the willingness, but about a 1 or a 2 on her ability to introduce me to key business contacts. So to give you contrast there, that helps you to understand willingness and ability. So you've got your relationship spreadsheet. Now you're valuing them in two key categories. And the third thing you got to do is to sum those two attributes up to establish your network value. And the highest, obviously, value is going to be a 10. And the lowest is actually going to be a 2. So what you do, and once you've done that, is you sort them. And I have found that people are pretty self-critical about willingness and ability, and you end up with a very few number of 10s. I think even myself, I think I have less than 20 10s. Okay, and that's probably not true. It's probably have a lot more than that, but the reality is that you can get pretty critical of the willingness and ability to help, and you got to keep that pretty simple and loose. At the end of the day, you're really trying to develop a scoring system that allows you to focus your time on the high value assets in your network. Okay, so how to network. Mindset is critical. It's really important that you understand, okay, now that I've got this relationship spreadsheet built, what am I actually trying to accomplish, right? And how am I going to approach these guys? Well, the number one thing you've got to think about is a binary versus non-binary approach. And everybody here is in tech pretty much, and binary is just single, one on or off, 1 or 0. Non-binary means it's horizontal or not on or off. There's multiple variants. there's two ways to approach a contact. I can approach, we'll use Larry as an example. I can approach Larry and say, hey, Larry, do you have any business or work for me? And that is a binary approach, meaning he either has it or he doesn't have it. A non-binary approach is, hey, Larry, who do you know that might have business or work for me? Which is a lot greater and higher probability than having a binary approach. So binary approaches to networking result in about 2% to 3% business and or opportunities. And that's just classic cold calling percentages. Some people do better, some people do worse. Generally, if you go out of your network, you're going to go at them once and you're not going to leverage the real value, and it's going to be probably a little bit awkward. The concept here and the mindset here is to look for referrals, to understand that you're looking for introductions and referrals out of your network, and to curate those individuals and help those individuals, right, get you introduced to people that meet your criteria. Really big mindset element here is reciprocity and developing a relationship. If you don't go into your network with the concept that you are there to serve them and that you are going to serve yourself by serving others, you're going to miss the entire point, right? And you're going to not develop your relationship. So going in to connect with, to reconnect with, to develop that relationship and develop that reciprocity, meaning what can I do for you, Mr. Larry? What do you need access to, right? Networking it swings both ways, right? It is a yin and yang type of thing. What can I do for you and what can you do for me? So understanding that reciprocity is the primary mindset that you should have will help you develop a better relationship and do better with that particular contact. Spending meaningful time with the highest rated network. The whole purpose of ranking your network is that you're going to spend a lot more time, energy, dollars, investment in your 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, and 6s and 5s than you are your 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So understanding where you're going to spend your time, right, and understanding that you're going to have to spend meaningful time to develop results is a critical mindset element. And then the final mindset is, long-term commitment to curating your network. You really got to think about, I am a curator. This is a long-term approach. I've built this network over many, many years. I'm going to maintain this network, hopefully for as long as you live. Hopefully these people are important to you and you want to know them and they want to know you forever. And you got to think of it like a curator, right? This is I call it Chase. Scully's on the phone. Chase is one of my top BD guys. Chase, here's we call it the reactor core. This is something that will last forever if it's properly managed, and it'll power your business development, networking efforts forever if you're properly curating it. Okay, so arming your network. KISS, right? Everybody knows what KISS means. Keep it simple, stupid. Really important element of this is getting your network arming your network to work for you. First part of that is understanding what it is that you want. Right? Most people will say things in job hunt like, I want a job where I can. And that's generally a poor approach because most of your network's not going to know about where jobs per se. They will if it comes up. But you want to talk about, right, things that you seek and why you seek them. And we'll get into that in a second. Okay. But you've got to understand specifically what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Now, I don't want to deride or look past some people that actually need a job. There's a difference between a career opportunity, a business development opportunity, and, hey, I need a job or I need work. Okay. And if you need work, right, then you want to be specific and ask for it and let them know that. But generally speaking, when you're talking about networking specifically for long-term career opportunities, you got to really let your network know what it is that you are and what it is that you seek. You got to, and the answer to that is to develop simple attributes that can be easily understood and actionable. And I say attributes. Attributes are things that can be tested for. I want to work for an organization that is highly collaborative. And let's say that Larry's interviewing me. Larry, help me to understand why TAG is a highly collaborative organization. We'll get into a little bit of details of why that's important, but you want to keep things in terms of what it is that you want simple, and you want to use attributes to be able to describe those and you want to develop a set of attributes that helps you filter out what you don't want. Most people will come to me and say, I don't want to cut off any opportunities that might be interesting to me. I'm like, I get that. But you definitely want to cut out companies and bosses and employers that you don't want to work for, right? And the answer is always, yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll start with that. So you got to filter out what you don't want to shrink the world and to establish a focus. Okay, whether that's a business development opportunity, hey, I'm looking for companies that are having a digital transformation project, or I'm looking for companies that are growing, right? I'm able to arm my network to introduce me to those types of companies, right? Rather than saying, I'm looking for something very specific and very unique. I want to make sure that I'm arming them with something that is simple, and I'm making sure that they understand what I don't want. Attributes are things like collaborative, sales-led, disruptive products, proven leadership team, hot growth company. There's 1,000 of them. My recommendation is to have at least 3 in a job search and or a business development endeavor. So you got to have 3. You should have 5. 3 is minimum, 5 is ideal. Okay, so these are things that I put out there. This was kind of just a brain dump for me, but those are the types of attributes: collaborative, sales-led, disruptive, proven leadership team, hot growth company that I would seek, that I would test for if I, Kyle Tothill, was looking for a job. Those happen to be ideally attributes of my organization. And so it's no surprise that they're sitting there, but not everybody's the same. But I think ultimately we want to work for good companies and good cultures. And that's how you describe to your network what you're looking for. It makes life a lot easier to get them to introduce you to that. Okay. Next final thing, right? To be able to now that you know what you want, is to develop that into what we call a polished ask. And polished asks are crisp, they're rehearsed, and they're simple, and focused, right? It's clear and direct. Like, I need your help, Larry. I'm in business development mode. I'm looking for my next career, logical step in my career. Simple. Larry, would you be willing to introduce me to companies? And the answer is yes, of course. Well, who do you know that looks like X, Y, and Z? So you got to come up with an ask that is extremely simple, rehearsed, and you get that buy-in from your networking associate. Would you be willing to introduce me? Yes, great. Here's what I'm looking for. Who do you know? It's got to be easily understood. It's got to be simple. You can't get too technical. You can't make it multi-wordy. You can't have a 5-sentence attribute, right? You got to make it easy so that people can jog their memories and say, yeah, I know a hot growth company. Oh man, I know a company. This guy in my neighborhood, or this lady in my neighborhood, leads a dynamic organization. I want to introduce you to that person. You're not looking for, again, a specific job or a specific thing. You're looking for introductions to people and companies that you want to either work for or for organizations that you want to develop a relationship with. They have to be actionable and something that you can follow up on. So you got to make sure that you get that polished ask. You got that, hey, would you be willing to introduce me, right? And if the answer is yes, and you know some people, then I get to follow up with you. Larry, you told me you were going to introduce me to these companies. Would you please do that for me? Yeah, okay. And then they'll do the work for you, right? What you seek is a conversational piece, right? Most of your networking relationships are going to want to have that discussion. They're going to understand what that means, and they're going to get a chance to know you better, deeper, right? And you want to be conversational about that. Again, I think I just said that. One of my profile attributes is I'm redundant and I say things multiple times to get the point across. But again, you want to be able to follow up on that ask. All right. Final piece here. You got to have a networking goal, right? And if you don't have goals, you can't have accountability. And if you don't have accountability, the odds are you're not going to be successful. And so you got to have goals. So I always have my goals and set my goals. Like, I'm looking for 2 to 3 introductions per top 30 networking relationships. That's between 60 and 90 introductions. What I have found is that, and I've been doing this for a long time, this is advice and counsel I have been giving to people for forever, okay, in career transition ministry and through my business relationships. I only place probably 2 or 3% of the people that I talk to, right, that actually are candidates. But I always give them this advice: And 9 times out of 10, if they follow it, they call me 90 days later, man, and they say, Kyle, gosh, that was great advice. I ended up developing my network. I ended up getting 50 or 60 introductions, and I found an unbelievable set of job opportunities. And it's just unlocked the world for me. So you want to have that goal, and I believe you can do it if you ask correctly. That's my goal. You can set up whatever type of goal you want, but you got to have one. Another goal would be to develop 100 net new relationships and contacts by way of networking. So you want to drive your legs until you get that. You got to deliver. Here's the other piece of it. You got to deliver on the reciprocity, and you got to take care of your network by following through. Mary Ford was described to me. She's on my board at Sales Leadership, and she's one of the most high execution professionals I've ever met in my entire life. And she was described by someone that I know as that her say to do ratio is always 1. If you're going to be a good networker, and I always strive for this, but don't always get to it, your say to do ratio has got to be 1. If someone asks you to take care of them, or they give you, an ask in your network, you got to deliver on it. You got to do it. It's mandatory. You got to follow up, and you got to do that, and that produces that level of reciprocity that creates value back for your network. It's just as important for them to know you than it is for you to know them. Got to be disciplined and consistent. I measure salespeople in 3 ways, one of which is sales craft. The other is subject matter expertise. And the final one is discipline of activity and consistency. I can tell you that the first 2 don't mean crap unless you're disciplined and consistent. And that's true in networking or anything else. But I'll also say networking, it is essential that you look at this in a very disciplined way and you're consistent with your outreach. You got to block time and you got to focus. If you don't block time to do this, it'll just slip. You got to block time to think about your attributes. You got to block time to think about and develop your polished ask. You got to block time to make the phone calls. You got to block time to actually have the meetings. What does that look like from a cadence perspective? What does that look like from an activity level perspective? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're highly active, right, and you don't have a career opportunity, you're laid off, right? You need to be doing this 40 hours a week, or at least 30. And I promise you, that's a never-ending reservoir of work if, in fact, you're willing to endeavor to do it. If you're fully engaged and fully focused on a career opportunity, you ought to probably have 2 to 3 networking meetings per month as a kind of a minimum standard for top-level network professionals. Back in the 2009, when the crash happened, about 25 million people lost their jobs and never re-entered the workforce. They utterly and totally depended on their companies to manage their career manager network. And they did not curate. They didn't go to things like TAG. They didn't meet new people. They didn't have outreach. They didn't join professional associations. And when they got laid off, they were listless and left for dead. And they never re-entered the workforce. Certainly not in the profession of their choice. And that's tragic and unavoidable, or tragic and avoidable. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. Got to block time, got to do this in good times and bad. It's paid huge dividends for me. And it's paid huge dividends for those people that have taken this methodology and worked on it. And that's my presentation. So I guess now's the time for questions. I'm sure there's lots of them. I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully that was what's up, senior? I see your face. You're the first guy I see. That's the wrap on that.
Well, Kyle, thank you for that. That was very insightful. I think, you approach a lot of things the way that you approach a lot of your profession and even your life. And I think you're very goal oriented. And one thing that impressed me that you were saying is you've got to take this on as your job. This is, if you're really in career development mode, whether it's be that you are in the market for something today or looking for advancement, you've got to take it on. And then you got to get up in the morning and you got to put on, you got to get ready. You got to put your game face on. You got to get your mindset right. And that is your job for that period of time, every day in and out. So very impressive. So
yeah, we have some amazing networkers. Senior Reed is here. Senior Reed has really been highly influenced influential to me and a mentor to me in terms of networking and taught me some of the details. He has an unbelievable platform called Global Connect Group, and he has a network of influence deal that's around networking. And I see Patrick here. Patrick Gall's an unbelievable networker. And so you can see the people that have had success in their career like yourself that invest in this, right? And again, in good times or bad, it makes a big difference.
Melissa, people have questions? Or?
Yeah, I think, Rebecca, you were going to curate questions, or I don't know how you want to do it.
Yeah, Patrick, why don't you start?
Great, thank you. First of all, Kyle, thank you very much for doing this so early in the morning. That was wonderful content and great advice for anybody, whether you are just entering the job market or like me, you've been doing it for over 40 years. And I have to say, for over 40 years, I have never, ever gotten a job through an executive search firm. Every job I've ever gotten has gone through networking, including the position I'm sitting in today. The other thing I wanted to comment on is the number of people in my network who come to me, and especially now. I just got laid off from XYZ Corporation, where I spent the last 15 years, 12 years, whatever. What do I do? And I think that's a horrible situation to be in. And so this is an endorsement for TAG. You know, I was the TAG board chair for in 2014, and I had an opportunity to go across the state and evangelize TAG. And one of the things I told people, one of the most positive values of being a member of TAG is the networking that you can achieve through attending various events, by getting involved, joining committees. It's a great opportunity for everybody in this state to get to build your network, and to your point, Kyle, always look to be serving. Don't necessarily walk in with the attitude that what you can do for me. Always walk in with an attitude of how can I help you.
That's right.
So thank you for doing this morning. This has been very positive. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And Raina just put a great comment here that societies are a great way as well. And I see on here that we have Kristen from our marketing society. Hal, you are on a few different societies, correct? Or marketing as well? And Seniors on our CEC. Kyle's on our sales leadership. So it's a great way to also network. Do you have anything on that, Kyle, that kind of can talk about how to get involved with societies, how to get involved with boards, any advice on that kind of stuff outside of just your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think Raina said it. I didn't add, a lot of career transition slides, but if I was going to give you my full career transition presentation, it would have a lot to do with, particularly if you're active, is to serve and get engaged within the society and or within the community. Right? It's really important that you serve the community while you're down, and that helps you have a sense of purpose and pride. It also allows you to connect and serve with others that are important. TAG obviously has 26 opportunities in that regard to serve on boards, to be a board ambassador, to get engaged and to support those societies. And when you do that, you generally get access to those board members who are executive decision makers, and all of a sudden they become very willing and able to help you because you're engaged in helping what they're trying to accomplish. And I certainly am an example of that, and have benefited from being involved in tax societies and being involved and engaged in those types of things and helping, right? That's, Patrick, you said it. I mean, you want to be passionate about serving. People want to work with others who are engaged and supportive of the missions that they're on, whether that's philanthropic, civic, professional association, religious. Those are important areas. And when you align with people, when you share a flag, if you want to call it that, with someone, you bond, and when you bond, then there's that willingness meter goes through the roof, and that's really important.
I'd like to add, if I could, Kyle, great job on this. Sorry I was late. I was on another client call, but the society board, especially now in this time, with the new virtual content and platform that they're all trying to build around, I think, bringing in prospects, bringing in your own teams into that build of new content is really an incredible opportunity. And Larry and Rebecca, kudos to y'all. What a great pivot into this new area and what y'all are doing. Just amazing how many opportunities I think it brings forward, and then the long runway and tail for these the content. It's the return on investment for sponsors and the ability to have that content available ongoing downstream. But from a networking perspective, the boards, just an amazing opportunity. And probably the most important thing, you touched on it, Kyle, and certainly others, but the relationship build, around it. You build relationships and these networks of influence of everybody and community of influence. It's just incredible to see what happens over time. I think, Hal, you've seen it, and all of us and who have been involved in the societies for many years. So I think there's a whole new frontier for all of us with this virtual platform that TAG's providing for everyone. So great job, Colin. Sorry I was late.
No problem. Thanks, Senior. Patrick, you'd mentioned something like, hey, I've been working for an organization for 15 years. What do I do now? Those are tough situations. The hope is, and the prayer is that we teach enough people how to do this so that when that happens to them, because you can't avoid stuff like that. I mean, you can't, who knows what's going to happen with the economy or with pandemics or God knows what, health issues, right? The concept is to always be prepared, right? And to constantly develop your network and constantly work on your network so that you have a term I like to use called career liquidity. And, and the career liquidity is a term that I've cobbled together that, takes into account the old financial term liquidity, which means that you have options, lots of options. You have cash and you can do what you need, right? And having career liquidity puts the control in your pocket, right? This type of methodology that I've developed puts all the control on your side. Even in an interview, in an attribute-based situation, you're talking to someone and you start talking about the 3 or 4 things that are important to you and what you're looking for. All of a sudden, that flips the interviewer out of filter out into filter in and recruit. It puts you on the offense. And when you do that, generally, you're going to have a much richer conversation. I've seen that so many times where an individual is clear on what they want, and all of a sudden, boy, is that interview different. It becomes a discussion. It becomes a recruiting conversation rather than, hey, well, tell me a little bit more about this or that or the other. You can flip that script and say, hey, again, Larry, tell me how TAG is sales-led or collaborative, or tell me about your leadership team. Really important way to take control of the conversation.
I like the term, Kyle. Another colleague of mine uses and David's last name I'm going to forget, but he always talks about relationship bank accounts. What's in your relationship bank account?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to curate it, right? And guess what? When you're starting from zero, right, it's tough to build, right? And it's the same old concept of savings, right? Relationship value is compounded over time. It's a long-term approach. If you continuously invest in it, when you're later in your career, you have lots of options. You have liquidity. Right. And that's what we all seek. We all seek to have control of our own destiny. We don't want to hand that destiny or control over to an employer. And I can tell you that the trend, has completely changed. Employers are not necessarily all that interested in curating you for your entire career. They're interested in having a partnership with you to maximize the value of your employment. And you should think theoretically, hey, I'm here to maximize my career liquidity and my opportunity here as well. And my job needs to set me up for the next job. And that balance has been, there's been a lot of, it hasn't been equal, right, for a long time. And this methodology helps you create that equilibrium that gives you control. And that's what everybody needs. I don't want to see, 10 million of the 30 million people that got laid off never return to the workforce. But I'm fearful that they're going to get discouraged, not network, be dependent on somebody else to come save their bacon, and ultimately get left for dead. And that was one of the most tragic things that I witnessed during the last recession was people that were calling me that were out of work for years. And at that point, if you haven't figured it out, you become somewhat, to some extent, radioactive, and no one wants to hire you, right? And everybody's going to scratch their head, and there's no reason for any of that. If you stay focused and you serve your community and you fill your time with community service, then ultimately you're going to be in a position to say, hey, I've been busy with my time. I've been networking. I've been focused. I've been engaged. And okay, then there's value. Yeah, I have access. I have relationships. At the end of the day, That's what you're bringing to the table, right? Experience, skills, and relationships.
And you can't be afraid to reinvent yourself.
Oh yeah, that is an extremely scary construct for most people. But I love the concept of, God doesn't care who you were; He cares who you are. And it always helps me, deal with things. But the career situation is exactly the same. It just can be daunting because you feel like you're the sum total of your past experiences, and the reality is you are what you are today. You are what you are right now on the table today, and the past is the past. But that can be a very difficult challenge for a lot of people to kind of get over the hump on that.
Hey, Kyle, I think that's a great point. And the other option for networking is also taking on some contract work, making sure that your resume is full with relevant work. Volunteerism is a good one, as we've mentioned. Tag is a great way to engage. But also, and then some people are being furloughed, which is meant to be temporary. How should they be thinking about their future at this point, do you think?
I think you're going to see more furloughs in the next versus layoffs, because people are going to have more. I think at the beginning it was a lot of layoffs, and now we'll end up seeing furlough. I think furlough is going to be a pretty good tool for businesses that just need a couple months, to get their act together, let demand come back. That said, if I'm furloughed, no disrespect to anybody here that's furloughed people, I'm looking for a new job, right? But if you believe strongly in the company that you're working for and you really want to be part of that, the best thing that you can do is volunteer or pick up gig work, right? Or pick up, freelance work. And that's what I would recommend. If you really want to go back to the employer and you really believe that's a realistic option, right? Then, and you're actively unemployed. I'm a big fan of consulting work or gig work or volunteerism. That's how I would be feeling it. And you should always be on the search for your next career anyway. It doesn't mean you're going to say yes. It doesn't mean that you're going to, take a job. You don't have to say yes. But at the end of the day, if you're not looking for your next opportunity, you're really not doing a good job of networking. Like I said, it doesn't mean you have to take it. I'll poll this with everybody, including myself on this call. If I had a role where you could make a huge impact on the company, your career, and your finances, and the opportunity, if you're successful, was huge, and it was a great challenge for you intellectually, would you guys be interested in hearing more about that? And the answer is, of course you would. So you always want to be seeking that next logical step. You always want to be seeking that, and that's why doing this is so important, and having your mindset is so important. Again, passive people do this a lot less, but still need to do it. Active people need to do a lot more of it. It's pretty simple.
I was on a call with Chris Krebs, who's the director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency at Homeland Security earlier this week. And Chris is the number one guy for cyber and DHS. And what he pointed out was that, given the current environment, while there are many people are being laid off and furloughed, there's also an area like cyber where there's continued growth. The hackers haven't stopped attacking. You talk to Tom Fanning at Southern Company, I forget the number he used, 2 million attacks a day or something ridiculous. So Chris pointed out that this is a great opportunity during this period to just rethink. We used to say in the Marines, no guts, no air wings. Start thinking about another path. And right now they're looking for mid-level career people who can, discern patterns out of complexity, who have that experience. And, it's a great opportunity to say, hey, I want to go do this. And there's lots of training and ways to get there fairly quickly. So I'm talking to Larry about possibly figuring out a way for TAG to be a key active player in helping people do that.
Yeah, I think pivoting is a really important mindset. I have tagged the old economy, the GOAT economy, for a reason, specifically to educate the people that it's come and gone, right? And we've entered into a new economy, right? And a new economy has winners and losers, just like the old economy did. And what was isn't necessarily what's going to be. And you're right. If you're not nimble enough to pivot, right, then there's going to be some difficulty in the road ahead. And there's lots of exciting things that are happening right now. There's a ton of innovation that's happening right now. There's a ton of activity in cyber, as you mentioned, in logistics and supply chain is a huge area of opportunity right now. Rediversification of your supply chain. I think one thing that you're going to see gleaned out of all of this is we were really vulnerable. That was the first thing that got hurt when China went down. Before we even got sick, all the supply chains got screwed up, right? That was the first symptom. And so you'll see a lot of innovation in those areas. You're going to continue to see innovation in online or virtual gaming, right? Virtual enterprise. You've heard a lot of organizations say that we're not going to come back to the office. We're done with real estate. It's a little early for those types of statements, in my humble opinion, but you're hearing, if you're listening to the wind a little bit, you'll hear the future, and to pivot into that is going to be really, really important. That's hard to do, but you got to have at least the mindset, Patrick, to your point. You got to adapt and overcome, right? So I
heard that somewhere.
I don't know where that comes from. It could be the Marine Corps, right?
I think we got time for one more question. If there's anybody's got an aching question that they haven't been able to get in yet, we'll let you raise your hand. Just put yourself off mute and feel free to ask.
Hi, my name is Kellen Redmond. So I have a question. I just got furloughed, and you mentioned that if I'm on furlough, I should be looking for another job. What do you suggest? Should I start looking for another job right now or wait till my furlough period is over? Because I don't know the logistics about unemployment and finding a job while you're furloughed and losing that job maybe even if I was considered to come back. So I wanted to know your thoughts about it.
I don't think you lose your unemployment benefits by networking and looking for an opportunity. Again, the way I would think about this, and thank you for your question, is that, hey, you got a job in your back pocket that's going to start in 2 months or whenever your furlough ends, right? And you understand what that looks like. And you understand that whatever percentage chance you will apply to whether that happens or not, furloughs are not guaranteed. They just aren't. And so what I would recommend is that you get active in terms of, certainly from a service and from a gig opportunity perspective, you need to take advantage of the unemployment benefits that you have. And if you can find other sources of income, you should do that. That's my humble opinion. You certainly should serve in the community if you can. There's plenty of places that need help. I mean, again, philanthropic, the food bank, civic, tag, you name it. Lots of places to get engaged. I'm just a fan, and I'm pretty aggressive, but I'm a fan of taking care of your own future. And if you've got a job in your back pocket that's going to start in 2 months, but it's not 100% guaranteed that you're going to get your job back, you better look out for number one. That's my best advice to you. And I would start today. Again, if you start from the networking process and you follow the model of figuring out what it is that you don't want, then that might help you find, the next opportunity. And if it doesn't happen and your job comes back, great. If you find another opportunity, it's not as good as the job that's in your back pocket. You at least have leverage on your current employer to say, look, I could take this other opportunity, but I need to know whether or not this is real or not. And if they can't give you a clear answer, they're not in the business of taking care of you in that regard. No disrespect to the furlough. Again, I think the furlough is a good tool. Most companies need that breath of air, but I see a lot of nodding heads. I think people are generally of the opinion that you should definitely start looking for the next opportunity.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much. I want everyone to know that this is being recorded. And we'll make sure that there's access of these insights on our website at tagonline.org. So please look for that. It'll probably take us a day or so to get it published up there, but we'll get that up there. So all of your great tips and this interaction will be up there. Scully's been out there working it, and he's a great resource. He's an A+ networker, just like you are, Kyle, and a lot of people on here.
He's good.
So, I would encourage you to take advantage of his offer to help and get connected, and whether it's long-term or short-term. And with that, we're at the hour. And I want to thank all of you for taking time this morning to spend it with TAG. For some of these virtual networking events, we've been doing everything, great happy hours, making them a little bit fun. We had Pepe, sommelier, help us walk through some wine conversation last week, and we'll be just doing some other fun things. And then just the opportunity to network in the virtual world until we can all get back in a room together. So please take advantage of that. And we have a great event today as far as information goes, and that's regarding data in the virtual world. That starts at 10:30. Registration's still open. Again, great information. It's about cybersecurity. Verizon is providing one of their top speakers, and they provide one of the preeminent global cybersecurity reports in the world. And so that'll be great content. Again at 10:30. And then we look forward to seeing you at the next Executive Insights and Networking Jam. And that'll be next Tuesday, June 9th.
All right, guys.
Thank you. All right, thanks, everybody.
Bye.